Fear. 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 It's a drop-kicking, grenade-throwing, dual-wielding, man-penetrating, war crime committing, little girl shooting coming out 20 years ago, but it's still better than 90% of first-person shooters on the market right now, so much so that I almost cried when playing its simulator. Seriously, it felt like I was having a second sexual awakening while playing this game. The first one was that Triss Marigold scene in The Witcher 2. What is up, LobotomizeGang is the guy. You know who it is, right? Right? That's right. I'm that guy from Fargo. Lester Nick. Before you say anything, yes, this is a horror game, okay? Just look at that. It's right there on the Steam page. And if you don't believe me, behold, what is scarier than a child? A female child. Why are you afraid of a little girl? She'll grow up to be a woman. Truly terrifying. I feel like Fear is one of those games that you have to make a video on if you want to become a real YouTuber. You know, just look at all the big boys. CV11, Mandalore Gaming, G-Man Lives, White Light, Boulder Punch, and many more. Every single one of those big YouTubers have made a video on it. Even Grimbeard made a video on it, and he usually just makes video on old adventure games. And since it's the spooky season of Halloween, and I myself am trying to become a real YouTuber, covering this game is a no-brainer. The fact that it's the 20th anniversary of F.E.A.R also helps. Speaking of, you can also help me become a real YouTuber by subscribing, turning on notifications, and penetrate that like button. Just think of the children, okay? When this channel blows up, I'm gonna give them jobs at my content farm sweatshop. Developed by the one, the only, the legendary Monolith Productions, creator of Blood, No One Lives Forever, Aliens vs Predator 2, Condemned Criminal Origins, Shadows of Mordor, and many other games ranging from great to failed abortion. F.E.A.R is considered by many to be one of the best first-person shooters ever made, featuring heart-pounding, adrenaline-filled action sequences, an extremely well-implemented slow-motion mechanic, and a beautiful, downright breathtaking lighting and particle system that still looks phenomenal in 2025. When working on the title, director Craig Herbert said that the team were drawing inspiration from the John Woo 1992 classic Hard Boiled, more specifically the tea-house shooting right at the beginning where guns don't run out of bullets and every shot sends 5 pounds of debris up in the air, creating an intense and chaotic atmosphere similar to that of the 1955 classic Now. Another source of influence is of course The Matrix, not just because of its cool action sequences and slow-motion acrobatics, but also because of its general dystopian vibe and gritty atmosphere. An atmosphere that Monolith not only recreated, but significantly surpassed with the help of their Lift Tech engine as well as an extremely crazy story. Begins with you being sent to track down Paxton Fettel, a psychically enhanced superhuman capable of remotely controlling an army of clone super soldiers. Fettel can see through their eyes, give them orders, and influence their actions. You know, the whole package. Yeah, if you're thinking that this premise is kinda wacky, then you're not the only one. The game itself even acknowledges how dumb all of this sounds.
This is why nobody takes us seriously, military clones.
And if this thing is somehow not ridiculous enough, they also mention that taking down Fettel will sever his connection to the clones, putting them in a catatonic state, effectively shutting them down. All 1,000 of them. I mean, what is this Looney Tunes shit, huh? Couldn't you have just put in a fail-safe or something? Like, make the soldiers become independent once Fettel is dead. Or, I don't know, get one other commander guy to sit around at home so that if Fettel dies, the control is transferred to him. But hey, this is ArmorCam technology we're talking about. The people who put a ton of money and resources into equipping their soldiers with super advanced cloaking technology, but then forgot to give them a gun. Now, with this premise established, you're gonna be spending the entire game tracking down Fettel, following the bloody trails of mutilated bodies left in his quake. You play as a nameless, voiceless protagonist meant to be a stand-in for the player. You work for F.E.A.R, short for First Encounter Assault Recon. Basically the grunts they send out to die first whenever something paranormal occurs. Let's go f shit up! Yeah! However, the one thing that sets you apart from the rest of the disposable, now skeletal, NPCs of F.E.A.R is your superior reflex, represented by the bullet time mechanic in this game, where you enter a state of enhanced consciousness to help you aim better and perform sick moves. Well, that and your connection to Paxton Fettel, who seems to be interested in your character for whatever reason, using his telepathic powers to communicate with you and occasionally send a low-resolution JPEG of a bloody corpse. He even goes out of his way to mess with you by capturing this lady, Alice Wade, who you are supposed to escort out of armor camp. Too bad she's not smart enough to stick to the super soldier single-handedly slaughtering half of Fato's clone army, running away from us only to then be captured not long after. No! No! Paxton has her! No! We have to rescue her! We still have a chance to bang her, okay? It could just be me, but I feel like Alice Wade doesn't really contribute much to the game's narrative. Aside from being essentially the damsel in distress, it feels like she exists solely to introduce you to her father, Harlan Wade, a scientist working for Armorcam and one of the key figures in the F.E.A.R universe. Who is that? Oh, that's James Gunn's wife! That is James Gunn's wife and what's his call again? And the guy who invented Spider-Man. What is it? What is Lee something Lee? Coincidentally, in addition to Alice, Fettel is also going after Harlan, a fact which only became clear to me halfway through the game, when I started to notice the clone soldiers fighting against Armorcam security. So when you think about it, this whole game is a huge cat-and-mouse game, in which you're chasing after Fettel, who's chasing after Alice Wade, who's chasing after Harlan Wade, who's chasing after a mysterious thing that's only revealed at the very end of the game. This is all I can talk about in terms of story without going into spoilers, so consider this your spoiler warning. Not that you absolutely must pay attention to the narrative in order to enjoy this game, because, as we all know, F.E.A.R is the pick of first-person shooters, and the gameplay itself is good enough to carry the entire game on its ripped, chiseled back. But since Monolith put a lot of thought into the story, I figured it would only be fair for me to show them the credit they deserve. Plus, the narrative takes an insane twist at the very end, one that is actually very on-brand for this channel, LobotomizeGang. So I just have to talk about it, okay? So, skip to this timestamp to experience the game to the fullest extent. And while you do that, did you know that YouTube has been hiding all of your comments? Yeah, they don't even let me moderate, okay? I can't do anything about it. Trust me, I've tried, but they just automatically hide anything they want. So the next time you post a comment, please refrain from saying too many swear words. And also don't post your unfiltered social political opinions in the comments, okay? YouTube automatically hides those as well. Yeah, no joke. Look at this. I have to filter the comments in a very specific way in order for them to show up. At this point, I don't even know what the hell is going on anymore. I mean, what's the point of giving creators the ability to moderate comments when you're just gonna do whatever you want anyway? Huh? As previously mentioned, during your quest to track down Fettel, he telepathically communicates with you from time to time, urging you to remember something that happened in your past. Since Fettel is super vague with his story, it is not until the very end of the game do you find out what his message was. As you enter the vault at the core of Armorcam, you find Fettel cannibalizing the corpse of Alice Wade, with Alma approaching the two. You are then haunted by one final vision, where you come to find out that the reason Fettel is so interested in you is that you two are related. In fact, you two are actually brothers. And do you know who gave birth to you? Yup, is Alma. Alma Wade, the daughter of Harlan Wade. You know, the little ghost girl following you around for the entirety of the game. That's your mom. Your mama's so stupid, it took her 9 months to make a joke. My mom is dead. Now you ask, but isn't she just a little girl? How did she give birth to you? Here comes the real messed up part. Oh wait, let me execute this guy real quick. Yeah, Fettel is not relevant to the story anymore, so he has to die now. He wants to free Alma and take over the world with her, a task which he has now completed. So, you know, bye-bye, Fettel. It is revealed that Harlan Wade, after finding out that his daughter has potent psychic abilities, decided to put her into a medically induced coma, shoved her in a test tube, and forced her to give birth to enhanced superhumans. Alma gave birth to you first, then Fettel second, before suffering from complications during childbirth, dying shortly after. A fact which Harlan greatly laments, not because his daughter is dead, but because she couldn't give birth to any more test subjects for him to experiment on. Had Alma not died after giving birth to Fettel, Harlan would have kept her as a breeder for however long he could. Bruh, like, what the hell is this Joseph Mangala sh? What did I say about this game having an insane twist, huh? With all that he has done, it stands to reason why, as soon as Harlan disables the stasis sustaining Alma's body, he's immediately turned into a skeleton, upon which we see an adult, ghastly version of Alma emerging from the chamber. Apparently, her psychic power is so potent that it has kept her from dying completely. See, the red girl is sorta like a psychic projection of 8-year-old Alma when she was first put into a coma. And the adult version is the physical, current, present Alma, who's now unleashed into the world, teleporting right into the sequel, F.E.A.R 2. All in all, in my opinion, the story of F.E.A.R isn't so bad as it is insane and over the top, dare I say, wacky. Especially for a game that puts so much effort into keeping a straight face with everything it does. This is not me saying that it is bad or that I don't like it. Quite the opposite, really. You're watching a channel called LobotomizeGang, for God's sake. I am not who you would call a well-adjusted individual. In fact, I appreciate the story a lot more now as I am writing this script than when I was playing the game. Is it because it's midnight and that's when the animal in me comes out? Yeah, but that's only one reason. I just appreciate the story for what it is, you know? Back when game developers could tell whatever story they wanted and not have to worry about greedy publishers breathing down their necks, telling them to turn the game into a soulless Skinner box designed to siphon money out of gambling addicts. Now that I think about it, maybe a game with this story wouldn't exist nowadays. I mean, disregarding the guy turning his daughter into breeding cattle, an army of mindless murder machines under the control of an egotistical maniac who wants to purge the world, sounds eerily similar to real life. Now, where have I seen this before? See, this is why I don't do politics. It's like drugs, you know? Dabbling in it a little bit is fun, but too much of it, and you start seeing things where there aren't any. What else can be said about a gameplay that hasn't been said before? It is phenomenal. In essence, the gameplay of F.E.A.R is a series of increasingly hectic combat encounters broken up by moments of quiet, atmospheric world building. Oh, he's still alive! Die! He's still alive! With the occasional flashbacks and hallucinations thrown into the mix. And when I said hectic, I mean earthquaking, heart-pounding, eye-blinding, eardrum bursting, adrenaline-filled, balls to the walls, non-stop action. One doesn't simply enter and exit a combat encounter in F.E.A.R. One dives out of cover, guns akimbo, perforating one guy, pistol whips another in the face, then drop kicks his friend in slow motion. One doesn't simply shoot enemies in F.E.A.R. One jips an enemy with a Spice 12 shot to the head, blows up a gas pipe to weaken the others, murders two guys with his pistols, crushes one guy's balls, then impales the last one's corpse on a wall with a giant metal spike as a warning. One doesn't simply use explosives in F.E.A.R. One throws a grenade at an enemy point blank and watches as he disintegrates, reduced to a mist of blood and gore. One is a war criminal. One is a sick fuck. And there are just so many other moments like these throughout the entire game, which takes about 8 hours to finish. In fact, this whole game is literally a giant 8-hour highlight montage packed with cool moments you would see once every hour in a Call of Duty campaign. If you're lucky. Look, listening to somebody describe the gameplay of F.E.A.R is like listening to somebody describe sex. They say that it's good, and you know that it's good, but it is something you have to experience for yourself to fully understand. So, you know, go outside. And no, your right hand doesn't count, no matter what name you call it and how much lotion you put on it. The game starts off easy by throwing a few low-level clones at you, all of whom can easily be dispatched with your trusty pistols and SMG. This is also a good time to get familiar with the SMG, because it's going to become useless pretty soon, especially when there are other, much more impactful, better war crime committing options available in the game. These first missions also serve to familiarize you with the AI and their behavior. I don't know about you, but I personally find the AI to be very good, even compared to some of the stuff we see in modern video games. Now don't get me wrong, it doesn't come close to being human, as many would exaggeratingly describe it. It doesn't even come close to Unreal Tournament's AI that feels like there's a sweaty Discord mod on the other side of the screen controlling it. What F.E.A.R's AI come close to, however, is making me respect the enemies and actively think about the next moves and what I can do to play around it. The best way I can put it is that the enemies in this game are dynamic. Exceedingly so. They're not just gonna sit behind cover and take pot shots at you from time to time. No, they will almost always be on the move, whether to rush you, flank you, or find a better position on you. Whatever you do, be sure to not stay compliant, because as soon as you let your guard down, you might find a fragmentation grenade up your ass. I don't even have to move. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, grenade! This is exactly why I think the AI feels so advanced. The game even creates the illusion of them communicating with each other via the occasional callouts. The game shines most when you are placed in a big open combat arena where enemies have space to maneuver and carry out their tactics. In close quarters, however, they serve as nothing more than target practice for the deadly arsenal you are equipped with. And oh boy, equipped we are indeed, in more ways than one, considering the balls it takes to pull off some of these moves in combat. You can carry any 3 weapons at a time, each of which can be switched out on the fly, should the need arise. This being a military shooter of sorts, we have the classic lineup of pistol, SMG, shotgun, assault rifle, rocket launcher, and the Penetrator, appropriately named for its ability to impale enemies to walls. For what purpose other than sick sadism, I have no idea. I mean, what can giant metallic spikes do that regular bullets can't? Aside from satisfying some freak's desire to turn living human beings into morbid works of art. Imagine growing up for 18 years, joining the military, spending 10 weeks in basic, then on your first day of deployment, you get stuck to the wall by a deranged psychopath who uses your death as a cue to throw out a bad one-liner. Stick around, boy. Get back to work. Stop hanging around. This, by default, makes the Penetrator my favorite weapon in the game. What better weapon can I ask for than a gun that performs an impromptu lobotomy whenever I want? LobotomizeGang, rise! If you would like to join LobotomizeGang and become a gangbanger, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment saying what gang you would like to bang. You can also become a member of the Patreon to help me make more videos like these. I've made a bunch of them and you can watch them on the channel. But it is taking so much from me. So much. Another good thing about a Penetrator is that you don't even have to shoot enemies in the head to stick them to walls. Dick shots also count. Now this is what I call balls to the walls action. Of course, I know that nothing can top the downright legendary F.E.A.R shotgun. A weapon so good that every click of the mouse feels like it sends a small amount of pure, concentrated heroin directly into your veins. But personally, anything that inflicts both physical and psychological damage will always be more appealing to me. Speaking of shotgun, this thing is simply magical. Magical not only in the fact that it holds 12 shots and can be reloaded in less than 3 seconds, but also because of the way it is meticulously crafted to deliver the maximum amount of dopamine whether you hit or miss your shot. This shotgun feels like something that would exist in the Warhammer 40k universe. It hits so hard that a point-blank shot can instantly dematerialize any enemy unlucky enough to be caught in the blast radius. It is simply insanity. As a matter of fact, it is actually insane for the devs to even allow you to replace it with any other weapon, because this shotgun should always be there in the number 3 slot by default, which itself should not be remappable. You know what? Were I in charge of Monolith, I would make it so that anytime somebody wants to switch out a shotgun for something else, somebody from the company will burst in through the door and punch them in the dick. Heretical thoughts merit inhumane punishment. Even though it is not my favorite weapon in the game, I will always hold the mystical F.E.A.R shotgun in reverence, not because of its power, but because of what it represents. Fun. This shotgun is what all video games should strive towards. Fun. Just fun. Not incomprehensible, fetishized, badly written, glorified mental masturbation, 45-minute cutscenes interrupted by 10 minutes of gameplay. Not overly traumatic, condescending, poorly told, hypocritical revenge stories. Not getting yelled at by barely literate 12-year-olds whose neglectful parents are too busy fighting to beat them. Not even excellently written exploration of mental anguish, trauma, and abuse. Not even anything. Not even video games. Not even fun. Not even living not even eating, nothing matters, not even laughing, there is no God, not even smiling, we live not even suffer. Sleeping, existence is dancing, pointless, not even resistance hugging, is futile, we are alone, nobody cares. The laser gun turns people into skeletons, which is why I have come to name it the skeleton gun, or the spooky fire, because of its ability to transmogrify any living being into a Halloween decoration. Acting as a sniper of sorts, it is mostly used to dispatch enemies hiding in hard-to-reach places. One blast from this thing is sure to kill anything organic, including the better-equipped clones and those security guards that can take a spike through the cranium and keep on fighting. This applies to you as well, by the way, which means enemies can also one-shot you with one of these, as I painfully learned in this part. Man! The skeleton gun becomes extremely handy towards the end of the game, especially in this level reminiscent of Condemned Criminal Origins, where you fight your way through a series of claustrophobic abandoned buildings filled with enemies lurking around every corner. Maybe it's just nostalgia from childhood crack dens, or maybe it's because of Escape from New York, but Interval 8 is probably my favorite in the game. There's just something about the atmosphere that speaks to me on a spiritual level. It is very late 90s, early 2000s, you know? Very Max Payne, very Vampires the Masquerade Bloodlines, very good. This level also has my favorite boss fight in the game, where you are chased through this rundown building by a guy piloting a mech suit. Just look at this, absolute cinema. Were this a modern FPS, this would have been a 5-minute cutscene with quick-time events, and the mech suit guy will be preaching about the negative effects of violence the whole time. Oh no, he's still alive! Now, aside from the shotgun, the penetrator, and the skeleton gun, the other weapons aren't anything special. Not that they aren't effective, as apparent from the footage you've been looking at. It's just that there's really nothing special about them that I feel worth mentioning. They simply get the job done. Disregarding the SMG, all of these weapons stay relevant right until the very end, so at least they are constantly effective, if not persistently dull. The one gripe I have with your loadout is that rocket launcher feels quite lackluster, especially in comparison with the rest of your arsenal. This is not to say that it's not devastating, because it is. The thing shoots 3 mini rockets every time you pull the trigger, and the visual effects it creates are simply mini marvels of video game technology. However, each of these rockets doesn't do a lot of damage on its own. It is only when 3 of them hit a target that the intended effect is achieved, which, in my case, is the total annihilation of flesh, obliteration of life. I mean, why do we even need the rocket launcher when the ballistic equivalent is readily available right from the start? Do you see what Spook is doing to me? These weapons are so good that I'm complaining about a portable triple-shot rocket launcher. Damn! This game is good! And it just keeps on getting better, as it always manages to find new stuff to throw at you. Whether it's a turret section, a new enemy, a cool set piece, or a lame but ultimately earnest attempt at scaring you, Terror remains consistently entertaining throughout its short but action-packed 8-hour campaign. Speaking of scare, this game is not scary at all, despite its prominent if not misleading horror tag on the Steam page. Man, how much blood can 2 people produce?
Great.
Huh?
Got anything useful to add?
No, this is not the time for an Instagram post. This is Johnny Depp from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's be honest here, I'm not gonna feel the slightest bit of tension when you give me a gun right off the bat. I see a creepy guy walking behind a door, I'm putting bullets into that door. I see the scary, I shoot the scary. In fact, anything that moves gets a bullet. Birds, rat, men, women, even children. The 9 doesn't discriminate. You've watched my videos, you know I'm all about that equality, baby. You call that a war crime, I call it preemptive self-defense. And it's not like you can actually kill the child by shooting at her. She always manages to get away. Lucky for her, they didn't send in a US politician. See, the combat in this game is satisfying not only because of the visuals, but also the audio, which when said out loud sounded like a huge nothing burger. But this is when the genius continues. In addition to your weapon sounds, another element that makes the combat so satisfying are the death wails of your enemies as they are brutally torn apart by gunfire. These don't always occur, but when they do, it is music to my ears. Yes, my favorite weapon. What are you trying to do? Sneak up on me? like a cacophony of pain, a litany of suffering, an orchestra of hurt. And since there's barely any music in the game, the combat can feel very intense a lot of the time, even in small fights or scenarios where enemies are clearly outmatched. And since we're on that topic, even when you're outnumbered, this is not a very difficult game. Granted, I played through the whole thing on the normal difficulty, but then again, I don't play video games to be a sweaty tryhard. I take regular showers and smell very good. Anyway, you can always change the difficulty in the options menu if you find the game too hard or too easy. So no worries there. Even though it came out 20 years ago, this May looks amazing. Honestly, aside from Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, which came out the same year, I can't think of another game in 2005 that has a lighting system as immersive as this. Just look at how atmospheric some of these scenes are. In an interview, director Craig Herbert said that the team at Monolith was intent on taking a subtle and more cerebral approach to the horror element of the game, foregoing jump scares in favor of suspense and tension, hence the dramatic lighting and deep shadows. Now you can be the judge of whether the team has succeeded in the task they set out to accomplish, but whether you think this game is scary or not, we certainly can't deny the fact that the atmosphere here is some of the best in video games. Better yet, the dramatic lighting not only helps with creating a horror atmosphere, but it also adds to the intensity of the combat. It is not a coincidence that the gunfights in this game almost always take place in either dimly lit or soon-to-be dark places, as a grenade explosion is the equivalent of an earthquake so powerful that the ground will shake and the lights will flicker. There's a word for this, and it's sensory overload. And I haven't even talked about the particle effects yet. You know what? I'm done talking, okay? Should you play Trepidation? I don't know. You tell me. Not only is it super cheap, but it is also very good. And if you're still thinking about it, look, it's not like anything is going to matter anyway. We're all gonna die and nobody is going to remember us in the future. So, why not play the super awesome video game? Share this video, subscribe, and stay tuned to watch me wallow in unceasing madness. If you don't, I'll give some fake money to a homeless person so they can get arrested.